And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being with us Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to have Dave Paziak on in a second. And as Dave and I have done for years, we talk off the air. So we appreciate your patience because we catch up with each other. Got a lot of things to talk about and a good friendship, and appreciate him tremendously more than you know. It's been a couple weeks since Dave and I have gotten to do this. I was down in Florida, as you all know, broadcasting from the Sunshine State, our second home of Wake Up Call, as well as Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and personally my second home as well. And so happy to be down there with you. Happy to be back up here in New York. Happy that the weather's been nice. And we're looking at some 70s. I'm looking right now. Let's see what the weather's supposed to be like. Yeah, so we're looking at sun today and tomorrow. 74, 79, then partly sunny, 72. Then it could rain, but we're going to be in the 70s for at least a week here now, which I am totally good with. The air quality is back. Thank you, Canada. And so things will hopefully continue to go well as we are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Go to them Monday through Saturday for sales and service. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. They have fantastic vehicles. I've gotten my vehicle from them for over a decade, and my 2025 Honda CR-V is nothing short of awesome. And I'm very happy to have my vehicle, and I look forward to you going and getting yours today, new and used vehicles. You could check out the inventory of Great Lakes Honda City by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. My dad just got the 2025 Honda Ridgeline. He loves that truck. So he's been getting it for years, and he just got an all-new one that is actually light blue, which is a unique color for my dad, but those are also the color of his eyes. So my dad matched his eyes to the vehicle at Great Lakes Honda City, and he just brought that home within the last couple weeks. So shout out to Pop, and shout out to Great Lakes Honda City for making it happen. So a lot of great stuff here with you on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com internet streaming radio. And on today's broadcast, we have a lot coming up for you. And living in the world of basketball, Dave Paziak, longtime basketball coach, as well as a basketball analyst and just an all-around great mind when it comes to the sport. Dave and I are going to be speaking on the NBA Finals. You know that every year Dave comes on the show and we have the opportunity to speak on the NBA playoffs, the draft, and more. And we're speaking NBA Finals in our continued coverage of the NBA playoffs in what I call DT and DP for Dave Paziak. So he joins me today to speak on the NBA Finals series, which is tied 1-1 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. And so we'll talk with Dave about that coming up in just a moment. In hour number 2, we will hear in a double dose of the Bearcat Break Room in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University. I'm honored and privileged to have the opportunity to speak with not one, but both of the new coaches that have been added to the women's basketball staff. Evelyn Thompson will join me at the top of the hour, and Jason Marshall in the middle of the hour before we round things out on a Tuesday, as we always do, with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's. Today's conversation is about one word that truly means everything when it comes to relationships of any kind, and that is the word effort. So we'll get into that here on today's broadcast. And with that being said, picture in picture with my first guest here. He's in a different part of New York, and hopefully we can get together in person sometime soon here. But the man that leads Linden and the man that leads our discussion in the NBA from season to season, Mr. Paziak, how we doing?
Doing great, Dan. How you doing today?
Doing well. And Dave, it's crazy because you and I have been speaking, through these playoffs and whatnot. And then I was down in Florida and I was thinking to myself, okay, we got to do this last one, but I won't be able to have Dave on this show probably for this week. And so it's weird. It feels like it was forever ago, but at the same time, the NBA Finals has a little bit of a cushion. So we had some time. So we really didn't miss anything. I feel like it's perfect timing with the series tied 1-1.
Yeah, it's I think we talked then we talked right before the Pacers closed out the Knicks and everything. Um, that little buffer, and it's good for, give us a little bit of breathing space. I'm not sure how good it is for the league to have, like, they had about a week between the end of the conference finals and the start of the finals. So I don't know, from a league standpoint, and I understand the logistics of it. They have to build in enough buffer so that if one or both series conference finals go 7 games, um, they can't back that right up to game one of the finals. But when the series get over early, like those two did, 5 games and 6 games, then it does lead to a little bit of a vacuum in between the end of the conference finals and the start of the finals.
Yeah, and I mean, Dave, it's good for the teams, right? It's good for them to have the rest. It's good for them to be able to scout. It's good for them to heal up from the bumps and bruises that happen throughout the season. So, I mean, team wise, awesome. Fan wise, like you said, is it really great for the league? But I mean, you're coming at it from a coach's perspective. So, from a coach's perspective, I would think that it's great to have these series, right? That are shorter, so we're not backing right up into the NBA finals. But I mean, how do you balance those two, right? Because the NBA wants to have primetime television and great television, and they want to have you engaged, and they want to have these awesome teams and the all stars of the league. But at the same time, the coaches are like, yeah, you might want us to play all the way to a 7 game series throughout, but the reality of it all is, we want to take a little break here in between. So the balance of selling it on television versus your perspective as a coach, where I'm sure the team aspect is, hey, let's get out of this series and let's get a break.
Yeah, I think the league has gotten, because of the money involved and, specifically what the players are making and the investment that's made in the players, the league has gotten more and more sensitive to building in adequate rest time, adequate travel time, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That said, the conference finals and the finals have two completely different rhythms to them. If you look at the conference finals, they're playing every other day. You got an East Conference game, a West Conference game, East Conference game, and they played every other day, throughout the course of the Eastern and Western Conference finals until this series ended. Whereas in the NBA finals, you had game one, 2 days off. Game two, 2 days off. The only single day off is between games three and four. And the league went, a couple of years ago, the league went back to the 1-2-1-1-1 format for the finals. After having gone for many years, they went to the baseball World Series format of 2-3-2. Um, so I think when they went back to 1-2-1-1-1, there was more of a recognition of kind of the travel toll, and they build in that extra day off, traveling from east to west. Um, in the case of OKC and Indiana, um, both of those teams are kind of in the central part of the country, so the travel is not what it would be if it was like New York to LA, for example. So, I think from a coach standpoint, it does give you um, a little more opportunity under this format to really hone in on adjustments from game to game. I think, in theory, it should produce a better brand of basketball, which I think this finals, I think the one thing coming out of this finals, and basketball being a copycat league that it is, um, both of these teams have gotten a lot of mileage out of playing depth.
Yeah.
Um, going 9, 10, 11 guys deep every game. And I think that, you've got the two teams who are probably playing the best at the end of the year, but you also got the two teams that were the healthiest and the deepest at the end of the year. Um, so, with the sport, like I said, being a copycat sport that it is, I think you'll probably see a trend towards that amongst several franchises here in the next few years.
Well, and you talk about the change of the format, right? The 2-3-2 that we used to have, where you got the 2 games for the lower seed has 2, then the home team, the higher seed had 3, and then it goes back to 2. And so when you look at that old model of the 2-3-2, and now we look at what we have where the Thunder are the better seed, so they get the first 2 at home. Then there's 2 in Indiana, and then we're in a 1-1-1 situation. What do you like better, Dave? Do you like the 2-3-2 scenario, or do you like the 2-2-1-1-1?
I think 2-2-1-1-1 is a much better format. It does have the extra travel built in, so there's a little bit of a toll there, but the league is kind of taking care of that with the extra day off. The thing I like, the reason I say that is under 2-3-2, If you get a if this series was 2-3-2, the Pacers get a split in the first two games in OKC, they can win the championship without having to go back to OKC. Um,
Yeah.
they just you if you're the team that doesn't have home court advantage, if you get a split in those first two games, you got an opportunity to win the title without ever having to go back on the road. Um, and you almost put that team that was, um, had the best record in the league, you almost put them in a little bit of a disadvantage in that sense. Um, so I think from a fan and a fairness standpoint, I think the 2-2-1-1-1 is a lot better format.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like you said. I mean, it seems to it just makes more sense, right? I mean, if you're the better team, so you're supposed to take care of business. So you're the better team in the beginning, so let's see what you got. And once you figure that thing, once you hopefully take care of home court advantage, you go on the road for a couple, and then it's the back and forth, which I really like. That's what I'm used to. That's something that has made a lot of sense to me growing up as a kid when it came to the NBA is like, okay, if you're the better team record wise, you get two, then they get two, then you get it, then they get it, then you get it. So no matter what, if you're backed up against the wall, you get to end at home. And I don't know, the 2-3-2 to me, it just I feel like it almost put the better seed at a disadvantage. Is that fair to say?
I think so. It's especially if at this point of the year, you got two really good teams playing. So if you're the higher seed, it's not unreasonable that you lose one of those first two games at home, like what happened to the Thunder. So I think as soon as that happens, you're at a severe disadvantage. And a counter argument to that is if you take care of business and win the first two games at home, you're getting back home no matter what, even if you drop all three on the road. So, um, but I think the format lends itself better to a sport like baseball than it does the NBA. Like, I think the back and you hit it on the head. The back and forth and the rhythm of the series with 2-2-1-1-1, I think really fits basketball much better.
Yeah, and so I mean we'll see because the Pacers were able to steal one in Oklahoma City, 111-110. I don't know what it is about the Pacers playing these games like this where they're overtime or regulation getting close. In the fourth quarter, Dave, the Pacers in game one outscored the Thunder 35-25. Bring me into that fourth quarter and how this game ended with 1 point in favor of Indiana.
Yeah, funny game, because if you look at all the metrics and all the numbers and everything, Indiana had no right even being in the game. They turned the ball over something like 20 times in the first half. Um, but I think the one thing, and this is going to be something to watch the rest of the series too. Um, Kind of the two things that went in the Pacers' favor in game one. One is their bench outplayed and outproduced Oklahoma City's bench. Um, so I think guy and a go-to guy at the end of games. I think he needs to be great for them to be competitive in the series. And the third thing would be um, Indiana played a little bit out of character, and part of this was out of necessity, trying to play from behind. But I think it's something that they're going to have to latch onto to be competitive in the series. Is they shot the three significantly more than they do or had throughout the season, in the early rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah.
They went from like a little bit under 40% three pointers out of their shots attempted to like high 40s. It was something like 46 or 48%, and they shot it at an efficient rate. Um, so I think Oklahoma City, like if you go down the line, probably more talented team. And the regular season would show that, and game two certainly would show that. But I think the equalizer for the Pacers, if they continue to make that adjustment and shoot the three more frequently and shoot it at a high rate, I think that's probably one of the things that gives them a puncher's chance in this series.
Is it the Reggie Miller factor? I mean, Reggie Miller is alive and well, but is this the spirit of Reggie?
Yeah, maybe. The Pacers they've won a bunch of games like that in the playoff run where come from behind, fourth quarter rally,
Yeah.
make the plays at the end of the game to win. Um, part of that is like, there's a little bit of self-fulfilling vibe to that. Once a couple of those go your way, you kind of believe that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think, and I don't think this is necessarily the case in game one against the Thunder, um, but I think definitely in the Knicks series and earlier in the playoffs, the depth factor is a huge part of that. And I think Indiana has been the fresher team at the end of games, especially when the games piled up and like in the conference finals where they were playing every other day. Um, so I think that has contributed to it. Um, and sometimes the ball is just bouncing your way a little bit, and it seems to have been that way for the Pacers throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and when you talk about the ball bouncing your way and how you had made the statement that the Pacers really had no reason to even be in the game that they were in, when I go back and I reflect on that statement, Dave, I look at the fact of what you had brought up: 24 turnovers total in game one for the Indiana Pacers. How many for Oklahoma City? 6. 24-6. Typically, you're not winning that game, right? In any sport, when you give extra possessions to another team, when we're talking football, if you turn the ball over 3 to 5 times, you're probably not winning that game. If it's 4 or more, I would say, or 3 or more, definitely 4 or more, you're typically not winning the game. And the turnover thing in a faster paced sport like basketball, 24 turnovers to 6 turnovers. And by the way, keep in mind, of the 6 turnovers that the Oklahoma City Thunder had, 2 of their starters did not turn the ball over, or pardon me, 3 of their starters did not turn the ball over one time in the game. Jalen Williams and Dort, Williams, and Wallace, none of them turned the ball over in the entire game of game one against the Pacers, where they lost 111 to 110. So you got 3 of 5 starters not even turning the ball over, and you're winning the turnover margin there by 18, 24-6 there. I mean, to go back to that, Dave, how strange of an occurrence is this when you say the ball's bouncing the Pacers' way to have almost 20 more turnovers than the team you beat?
Yeah, and then you throw on top of that Gilgeous-Alexander at 38. So their best player has a big game and they still lost.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a really, I mean, it's a very bizarre and very, strange set of circumstances that you lose a game in that situation. I think here's one hidden number though. Um, they had 24 turnovers, but in Indiana cut that down to 15 in game two. But the Thunder scored more points off turnovers in game two than they did game one. So,
Yeah.
even though they forced 24 turnovers, Oklahoma City didn't really capitalize on that to the degree that they could have. And I think that's the thing. 20 of those turnovers came in the first half, and the Thunder really had a chance to put the game on ice. And because they weren't converting at a high rate off those turnovers, it allowed the Pacers to kind of stay around, stay around, stay around. And then, fourth quarter happens and the Pacers do what they've been doing all playoffs and make that late push and find a way to win.
Yeah, like you said, the points off the turnovers. You could turn the ball over as many times as they had, but did they capitalize on that? It's one thing to take a possession away from yourself or have it taken away from you, but it's another thing to do something with that possession. Again, in any sport like in football, you could cause 3 turnovers, you don't get any points come away from it, or you only get a field goal or whatever that may be, you could still lose that game. So in the case of basketball, like you said, minimizing those turnovers in the second half, having 24, but the majority of them coming before halftime, and then seeing what they did. So, I mean, obviously Indiana made adjustments. They did things they needed to do. I want to ask you something about Halliburton. And, to go beyond this into another piece of this, another topic, there's been memes and videos and things that people have put up to pick on Halliburton. And the theme, the motif of these are that he is lost for most of the game and then he is magic toward the end. Your thoughts on how some people are looking at him and looking at his game and saying to themselves and making a joke about it that Tyrese Halliburton sleeps kind of through the beginning of the game and then wakes up.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a fair criticism. he's a guy that when the Pacers are playing well, he's dictating the pace of the game, even if he's not scoring and doing the stat flashy things.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's getting them out in transition, finding people, facilitating offense. When they're playing well, they've got they're playing at a really so I don't think the sleeping through the early part of the game characterization is necessarily fair. That said, when the game's on the line, he's also the guy that is going to probably make the play, look to make the big play with the game on the line for them. He's clearly their go-to guy in those situations, and they believe in him, and he's got belief in himself. And I thought that was one of the really good, like sometimes the best coaching moves are non-moves. And at the end of game one, they got the defensive stop
Yeah.
and then got the ball back with about 8 seconds to go. And unlike probably 80, 90% of coaches, Carlisle trusted his players, had the ball in his best player's hand in kind of a open court situation, and Halliburton goes and makes a play. The tendency, I think, at all levels of basketball is guys overcoach and, immediate timeout there, we're going to set something up. And meanwhile, you give the defense an opportunity to get organized. So, but getting back to Halliburton, I think he's a guy, and part of this is like the rivalry with Brunson, and maybe there's like a little bit of reincarnation of Reggie Miller and all that. He's a guy that, he's got a little bit. His father fed into this with the Acton, when they beat the Bucks and whatnot. So he's got a little bit of the outside of Indiana, the kind of the black cat heel role. Right down to he's done stuff with the WWE. So so I think being in Indiana, being kind of the antagonist of the Knicks and all that, I think that has kind of fed into this persona of him. He's also, I think there was a poll of NBA players where, preseason where he was voted the most overrated guy in the league. And, so that is, I'm sure that's a little bit of a chip that he's carried on his all season. And, he's kind of getting the last word by being in the finals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's another guy in the finals that I do want to get to here in a second. DT and DP, Dave Paziak, longtime basketball coach, mind, and analyst, speaking with me on the 2024-25 NBA Finals, the Thunder versus the Pacers at the time where the series is tied 1-1 and heading to Indiana. Pascal Siakam won a championship with my Toronto Raptors in 2019, and Toronto decided to let this move to the Pacers happen, and this was the beginning of Toronto kind of, as you said, Dave, before on the show, letting themselves out of purgatory where they could make the playoffs, but they weren't going anywhere because they didn't have enough to get over the hump, but they had enough to get in. So Pascal Siakam goes to Indiana, and in game one, he has a double-double, 19 and 10. In game two, he's close, and he scores 15. He's a starter for the Indiana Pacers. I know the emphasis is on other guys in this series, but what do you think about Pascal Siakam and the chance of him to become a two-time NBA champion?
Well, the guy was the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals. So he's a guy with a championship pedigree, and um, I think if you watch the Pacers, like when he's got it going, they're good enough to beat anybody. I think he's a guy that if whoever they're playing is able to take him away or he's not on his game that night, has a big impact on the Pacers. I mean, you look through the playoffs, their best games have been his best games, and I think he's a guy that he's never been like the guy on a team, but he's been kind of the number two or number three on a really good team. Um, a significant part of his career, and probably we talked about Halliburton. He showed on a poll as being one of the most the players viewed him as one of the most overrated guys. I think if you polled like one of the most underrated guys in the league, it's probably Siakam.
Yeah, and he was a guy that, I mean, being a Toronto Raptors fan, obviously I saw his value and I appreciated him. I didn't want to see him go. I thought once he left it was going to be that admittance of, okay, we're rebuilding. So, I mean, to see him be successful, I'm not surprised. But like you said, I mean, underrated, right? Halliburton, where you said there's maybe a chip on his shoulder that people thought he was maybe overrated. And then in the case of Pascal Siakam, a chip on his shoulder because he's underrated. So overrated, underrated, you got these two guys on the same team that have their own chip on their shoulder, right? Pascal, that he wasn't supposed to win with Toronto. He wasn't good enough to do anything post Toronto. He's washed up. What's he going to bring to the team? Maybe his career's over. Maybe he's on the tail end of it. And then Halliburton still catching flack, even though he's in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, Indiana comes into this as the underdog, even though I feel more even of them both. I feel like this can go either way, but they come in as the underdog. Do you like seeing what's happening with Halliburton and Siakam? I mean, if you were coaching them right now, knowing that one's been overrated and one's been underrated according to the world, do you like the fact that you have both of these guys together?
Yeah, I mean, I like their mix of players in general. Both teams, I like the mix of players, but I think they're both guys. Like Halliburton has a chance to, like, especially if Indiana wins a series, and he has a big series. But I think he has a chance to elevate himself into the upper echelon discussion. Um, and Siakam, I think, is a guy who has been a very, very good player in the league for quite a long time now. Um, so I think those two guys, and Miles Turner is another guy. I think, that mix of guys, you've got, you got a group of guys that play well together, seem to have good chemistry together. Got one of the best coaches in the league, over the last, 15, 20 years, championship pedigree coach. Um, so I think they're um, kind of the epitome of what a team should be, and I think this, like I say, it's basketball being a copycat league. I think you may see, especially now with having to manage your salary cap and all these kinds of things, I think you may see more teams try to emulate this model where you put a bunch of really good parts together that fit versus fit parts around them with veterans. I think with both the Pacers and the Thunder. Now the bill's going to come due with the Thunder in a couple of years, but for now, like the Pacers and the Thunder, they don't have like even Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP of the league. I think he also, like Halliburton, doesn't have the cachet of um, the Giannis's of the world, or LeBron, obviously, or Curry, or um, any of that upper echelon, Jokic, those kind of players. But I think that through this series, they have a chance, Gilgeous-Alexander and Halliburton have a chance to elevate themselves into those conversations. But the way the teams have been constructed around them, I think more of a value, more of a premium on putting the right parts together and the right parts that fit, and more of a premium on depth. So hopefully that'll be a trend with the league.
Yeah, and I love it because I mean, you're music to my ears right now because I did not like the whole, and I've talked about it with you a lot, but the LeBron James crater where he goes to a team and forms a giant gaping hole in the universe, and then he fills it with a bunch of cheap contracts of people around him, and then maybe goes and gets this guy or that guy, and then everybody else auditions for LeBron. It's the big three thing, and granted, we've seen some stuff historically, but I like the team aspect. I used to talk about the Thunder when they first came to OKC after they were the Seattle Supersonics, and I talked about how they were a fundamentally sound team, and the Spurs were a fundamentally sound team. There were certain teams that just stuck out to me that they just had like basketball fundamentals, and they were a team. And as much as you have David Robinson and Tim Duncan, they were a team, right? You had Manu Ginobili, you had Tony Parker on San Antonio. There were other pieces, and it was more than the big three. It was, Bruce Bowen. Like you got to extend out from the typical. And I love the teams that still showed me fundamental basketball because you have to know that. I mean, that's what I had to learn when I was a little kid. I had to learn how to fundamentally beat you, no matter what your size was or how much you weighed or how skilled you were. And so that was something that mattered to me. And then what also mattered to me in the fundamentals of it all was that the team aspect kind of went along with that. If you had a good fundamental team, you had all these guys that were like you said, pieces of this greater machine. And then we got into this whole like LeBron's going to form his own American Idol. Then we had, Golden State with their team and different teams trying to take this. And like the Knicks had Carmelo, but they couldn't really afford to bring anybody else in. So we saw kind of this arms race, right? We went from team basketball to an arms race, and now you're talking about going back to team basketball. And I'm excited because if we go to team basketball, Dave, guess what? That means there's going to be potentially a different champion every year. It means there's going to be different mix of playoff teams every year. And it means that the door is more wide open than simply saying it's Golden State or nobody. It's LeBron's team or nobody. And I think that's good for the NBA. And honestly, for a basketball purist as myself, to go from the arms race to the team aspect, I think is going to be a really cool thing if this continues that way.
Well, yeah, and I think you've already seen like the kind of the parity come in the NBA. I mean, this is going to be the six different champions 6 years. So, um, I think with the modern kind of with the collective bargaining agreement and the salary cap, especially now with the multiple tiers, multiple aprons. And that's why I say with Thunder, like you look at them and you say this should be a team that is in the discussion for the next decade. But the bill is going to come due on all these young guys, and are they going to be able to pay to keep Williams and Holmgren and some of the other parts around them? Um, so I think the current, in the modern NBA, I think um, stockpiling and locking down assets to be able to make a run for 3 or 4 or 5 years, like like you saw in the Bird Magic days and all the way up to the Curry Warriors when they brought in Durant and everything. Um, I think it's much more difficult, if not impossible, to do that and sustain it in today's NBA. So, um, I think that you're going to see that trend continue. The league has and the players have historically done a pretty good job of creating a system where uh, if there was a built-in hometown discount to be able to retain your own players. So,
Yeah.
there was player movement, but it came at a cost. Um, Now with the system the way it is, between the penalty, the penalties for exceeding the various salary cap thresholds, it's going to be harder to do that. But at the same time, we talked about that, like there were some big name trades. Um, Matching salaries is always a part of that. So it's a much more complicated landscape as far as trying to, um, I don't think you'll see like when the Celtics put their big three together in a year and won a championship, or New Jersey tried to do that and like flamed out. Now Brooklyn. Um, I think in the landscape of the NBA today, that's going to become increasingly difficult to do. And I think you're going to see um, teams rise to the top, like Indiana that put good parts together, or like OKC that, OKC reminds me. It's a little bit of like their first iteration with when they had Harden, Westbrook, and Durant all on the rise. They're also, they also got a little bit of kind of that Spurs vibe to them in that they've made some judicious trades, some good talent evaluations through the draft and that kind of thing. So I think you're going to see those things be more and more of a premium in the NBA.
And to go to the team aspect, before I let you go, Dave, here on DT and DP, Dave Paziak, longtime basketball coach and analyst, a great mind in the game, speaking on the NBA Finals with the Thunder and the Pacers tied 1-1, and the next two games are going to be in Indiana no matter what. Dave, looking at that team aspect conversation, In game 2, the Pacers had 7 players come off of their bench. One played 22 minutes. The Thunder had 10 players come off of their bench, and 3 of them played at least 20 minutes in the game. Your thoughts on depth of the bench? And Dave, maybe I'm just not used to it because I'm so used to Jim Boeheim over the years playing 2 people off the bench. But seeing, I mean, I love bench play, and you talked about how the Pacers bench outscored the Thunder bench in that first game and in their win 111-110. Looking at the Pacers going 7 deep and looking at the Thunder go 10 deep, and not only 10 deep, but to give 3 of those 10 players at least 21 minutes. I think it was like 21, 27, and 23, something like that. Your thoughts on the bench play and the depth of these teams, the fact that it isn't all, I mean, we talk about it's not all about a big 3 anymore. It's not all about the starting 5 either.
No, and I think these teams are very similar in that respect, in that they've put a premium on depth the whole way. Indiana, they've been playing 9, 10 guys consistently. Oklahoma City, same thing, 10 guys consistently. And like kind of refusal to accept that and adjust to that is really probably what cost Thibodeau his job with the Knicks. But I think both of these teams, because of that, they play a fun style. I think it's really unfortunate that, the narrative, knowing how the media is, and the media likes to throw shade at the NBA, the narrative is going to be that the ratings are down for the finals because you've got 2 small market teams. I think number 40 to 26 and 47 nationally, the market size, something like that. But I think for people that enjoy basketball, I think it's a really easy watch and a really fun watch because, like you said, both of these teams do play a lot of guys. They both share the ball, play the right way. Like Oklahoma City is historically good defensively. Indiana has become a good defensive team in the playoffs, especially with the game on the line. You got rising stars. You got basically, I think, everything that a true basketball fan would want. Except for the fact that, it's not Boston or New York or LA or Chicago or a major market city like that. So I hope, people that are basketball fans, really enjoy and appreciate this series.
Yeah, and you should be enjoying and appreciating it because it is tied 1-1, and our next game is going to take us to Indiana, like I said, this Wednesday, I believe at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time it tips off. So we'll see what happens from here. Dave, you know that I will be calling you very soon to have you right back on the show. So let's see what Indiana can do, if Oklahoma can steal one back, or if Indiana takes care of home. Dave, as always, I appreciate having you on the broadcast. I appreciate the depth of the conversation and the fact that you've always been an all-star here on the broadcast. So thank you for that.
Well, appreciate you having me. Always enjoyed the conversation, Dan.
I'll talk with you soon, Dave. Take care.
Take care.
See you. That coming from Dave Paziak one more time. Game 3 of the NBA Finals comes up this Wednesday, and I hope you're ready for it. We'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, we have a double dose of the Bearcat Break Room, and that will be starting in just a few minutes with Evelyn Thompson joining me on the show. Evelyn Thompson coming to us as one of the new additions to Mary Grimes' staff for Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball going into the 2025-26 season. So very excited to have Evelyn joining the show. And then we will have Jason Marshall join the broadcast right after the other addition to this staff. So 2 new additions to the Binghamton women's basketball staff, and we will speak with both of them. Evelyn Thompson first, followed by Jason Marshall in just a little while here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are proud to be with you inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, Wake Up Call with our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats, bring you the Bearcat Break Room throughout the year with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni. And I'm very honored this morning to have a double dose of the Bearcat Break Room, honoring the two newest additions to the Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball staff. And Evelyn Thompson starts things off here, as this is her first time on Wake Up Call and our first opportunity to discuss her history and her journey to Binghamton and moving forward. Evelyn, how are you? Oh, we got you on mute. I'm going to take you off mute here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I know this is supposed to be a wake-up call. I don't know how awake I am, but I'll try.
That's all right. Well, Evelyn, first and foremost, congratulations. And I'm very happy on the heels of you and Jason Marshall being named to the staff and joining Mary Grimes that we've gotten to speak to you so close to that news coming out. So first and foremost, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
So bring me into, I want to go all the way back. I want to go to the history, your history with basketball. How did it start for you? When did you fall in love? I want to know when the ball started bouncing in the life of Evelyn Thompson.
You know, I think, honestly, I think it was in the womb, because I can't remember a time when I wasn't in love with this game of basketball. And the longer that I've been in it, and I've been in it for quite some time, the more in love I fall with basketball. I can't, like I said, seriously, I can't remember a time when I wasn't. I remember playing on the playground with my cousins, my brothers. I come from a big family, so there was never a time that I didn't have a squad around me. So, and then being a bit of a tomboy and hanging with my brothers most of the time, it gave me the opportunity to not only play the game, but to get pretty good at the game. And so all the way from middle school, having the opportunity to play for Lois Myers, who is one of the best coaches. She's also a Hall of Fame coach in the state of Georgia. Yeah. Having an opportunity to play for her when in middle school playing up with the varsity and moving from there, going into high school, having the opportunity to again continue to play for her and win back-to-back state championships and getting some recognition, and also having the opportunity for her to then transfer over into the collegiate realm and really getting the chance to see what the next level was going to be like, because she ran our program, our high school program, like a Division I program. And so for her, being that coach who really kind of defined what one coaching was, how it should look like, the relationships that you should have with your players, the level of expectation that was there at a high level. She gave me the opportunity to one, see what it looked like from the player standpoint, and also to see that projected out into her as a coach, and then still some of her techniques and kind of molded into my own style of coaching. And so she left my junior year and went to the University of Alabama, which of course I can't talk about a whole lot because I'm an Auburn grad, but she did go on to the University of Alabama and become the head coach there. And after high school, AAU won a national championship with the Georgia Metros, so had an opportunity to play at the highest level also on the AAU circuit. And then I was also a trackster, so I had veered a little bit away from basketball and started focusing on track. But then I injured my knee in track and bounced back to basketball. And I say everything happens for a reason. So it was an opportunity for me to get back to that first love of mine, which of course was basketball. And I sat out my senior year because my coach had transferred over into the collegiate realm and decided to go JUCO. Had the privilege of playing for Ricky Ford at Northeast Mississippi, where then I went in and won a national championship at the JUCO level, was a Kodak All-American there, had an opportunity to have a very successful career at the JUCO level, then transferred over into and my coach there, Coach Ricky Ford, who's now the president at Northeast Mississippi, had an opportunity to play for him, who is also a Hall of Famer. Then I guess I was going to keep my streak going, so I went on to Auburn and had an opportunity to play in a couple of national championship games, and won a couple of national championship runners-up titles, and played for another Hall of Famer, Joe Ciampi. And those experiences, again, from each one of those coaches, I've had an opportunity to be shaped and formed into the coach that I am today. And so after I left coaching, after I left playing, I had an opportunity to go straight into coaching at Arizona State. So went from player to coach, which I thought I'd never do. There were two things in my life I said I would never do. I said I would never teach and never coach. But the universe, God, the source, whatever you want to call it, has a funny way of, one, humbling you, and then two, steering you into your purpose. And so I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to go right into coaching with Maura McHugh at Arizona State. And from then on, my career has been coaching and teaching. So that's in a kind of a nutshell.
Well, and you said something that means the world to me, and it's the only way that I can live life. I actually had the conversation recently with family, and I said to my dad, I said, the one thing that I know is never going to die is honesty and building relationships. You spoke about the relationship side of things. We live in a world of NIL, name, image, and likeness. In the recruiting world, some student athletes come to you and question number one is, how much money am I going to get? Or it's question number two, the transfer portal and the thought of, hey, if I'm on a team and I'm playing, great. If not, I can run away. I don't have, if somebody comes in, tries to take my job, I'm a point guard, they're a point guard, I can go run away somewhere else, be a point guard there. There's an individualism that we see right now. There's a lack of team in certain places, and there's a lack of relationship building with maybe some programs, maybe some places, some communities. You spoke about learning about building relationships from the coaches that you had, the importance of that. I'd love to go deeper into it, Evelyn, because now you're living in a world as a teacher and a coach where I think the overwhelming, undying currency is building relationships, but not everybody feels that way.
Oh, absolutely. We've moved from relationships to transactions, which I think is a disservice not only to us as coaches, but it's a disservice to the young people who we're charged with, whose lives we're in charge of to a large extent, but also the game of basketball, because we're not an individual sport. We're not tennis. We're not golf. We're basketball, and in basketball, it requires a team set, a mindset in order to be successful. And so you can have a bunch of individuals out there on the court, but eventually those individuals are going to be beaten by a team. And so how I recruit and how I coach is under this mantra that I've always had, whether in my mind or as, part of the philosophy and the culture, is that I am my sister's keeper. And that being that not only do I want you to keep your sister, but I want you to keep her well. And that means that you are going to have to develop a relationship with her. You're going to have to know who she is. You're going to have to know those things that, make her, go, those buttons to push. You're going to have to know everything about her family. You're going to have to invest some time and some effort and some love into her so that she knows that she's cared for. And I think when you give people your absolute best, I think they, in return, the reciprocity is that you get the best. And so for me in this culture, it kind of hurts me because there are a lot of people who don't emphasize the importance of the relationships, and all of what we do is about the relationship. Our job in all of this as coaches is to guide these young people and give them the skill set that they need in order to move to that next level of life. And I don't think we're doing that when all we're doing is exchanging, money for talent and not really knowing these young people or their families, and we're not directing them in a way that is positive. We're not the overseers who are invested in their lives. And so I think that's a tragedy, because I think we lose out a lot when we don't, because these are the people who are going to be taking care of us. And so if we haven't done a good job of guardianship, then they certainly won't be able to, because they won't have the skill set to do so.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I think it's great that you flipped it and said, hey, we take care of them, and then eventually, they're taking care of us. Evelyn Thompson here with me this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios in this edition of the Bearcat Break Room and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University. You spoke on some of your history, but starting at Arizona State as an assistant coach from 90 to 93, then we saw you go to Western Kentucky, then from there to Buffalo, to Michigan State, to Stony Brook, and then Stony Brook 2009 to 2011. They used to be a part of the America East, which is the conference you're in now. And then from there, we saw you go to the AAU. I know you said playing at AAU and being in that national stage. And then you got to coach Michigan crossover AAU elite team from 2011 to 2013. Then you consulted for Blue Star basketball, assistant coach from there, Tennessee Tech, Tennessee State, and then eventually would move on to be the head coach of Cleveland State's Community College for 2017 to 2023. And then after that, Miami of Ohio during the 2023-24 season, and then UMass Lowell, where you were the recruiting coordinator this past season. So as you talked about your playing days and what you experienced there and the different stops that you had and the different coaches and leaders that you had in the coaching world and in the recruiting world and consulting world, you've also had a ton of stops. What have you learned from Arizona State to most recently UMass Lowell in that journey through coaching and teaching? What has it taught you to the person that you've become today as you step into Binghamton University?
I often tell people when they ask me about, the number of stops, and when they ask me about my journey in this game of basketball, and, my philosophy is that we're where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. I'm just one of those people who believes that, there are no losses. There are always experiences that teach us and allow us to grow. And so, if I'm at a place, it's because there's a lesson that I need to learn there. And once I learn that lesson, then I move on and take those experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, with me so that I can become not only a better coach, but a better person. And so I'm always trying to be the better version of myself, better than I was yesterday. Now, am I always at 100? Absolutely not. No one is. But what I am doing along the way, coaching, or teaching or whatever that is, mothering, whatever that is. I want to be better because I think the people in my life deserve me at my best, and so do I. And so when I look at my career and the stops that I've made, I certainly have been put in a place to learn, to be smarter, kinder, more grounded in my spirituality, and just a better person. Because the woman that I was at 21 going into Arizona State is not the woman that I am now. It's not the woman that I was in the middle of my career. And those are the things that I talk to, our student athletes about. The woman that you are at 18 is not going to be the woman that you are at 21. It's not going to be the woman that you are at 25. And so allow yourself the mistakes, allow yourself the growth, and move toward that maturity, that understanding, and developing that skill set that will make you better at whatever it is that you do. And I'm an extremely competitive person. So I want to be the absolute best, and not just as a coach. I want to be the best.
Oh.
I want to be the best mom. I want to be the best Gigi. I want to be the best aunt. Whatever that is, I want to be the absolute best. And I'm not competing with anyone else. I'm only competing with that latest version of me. And so it's important for me to see that growth, not only in my career, but also in my personal life. And so that's in my spirituality and anything that I'm involved with. So.
And Evelyn, when you have those moments of adversity, those moments of strife, those moments where you're called to reach into the lessons that you've learned over your time on this earth, how do you get yourself out of the proverbial dark hole? How do you rise above that?
It's that competitiveness. I know nothing but to win. And so, it really is, and I talk to young people about this as well. It is about the paradigm. I can look at it as a glass half empty, or I can look at it as a glass half full. But every opportunity, and I think as long as I'm breathing in whatever circumstance, then I have an opportunity to get to the other side of that. And so the only way you can get to a mountain is to go through the valley. And so sometimes that valley, again, the valley is the place that teaches us most about ourselves, because it's not who you are at your, on top of the mountain, where all the glory and all the fame and all the, focus is, but it's the journey to get in there. That's what really defines who you are. And and my dad used to say all the time, which is something that I use quite often now, you have to go through something to get to something. And I really do believe that. And I live that every day, knowing that even through the bad times, there are good times that are going to come. And so I just have to hold on and to understand that these are lessons that are going to make me stronger, not to weaken me, but they're here to make me stronger.
I love it. And I love the positivity, and I appreciate it, and I respect it very much. So we're going to get into something called rapid fire in a few minutes, where you and I can ask each other questions about literally any topic. Doesn't have to be just basketball. But before we get into that, Evelyn, I got to ask you, why Mary Grimes? Why Binghamton University? Why right now?
Well, I think ultimately the answer to that question is because the universe says so. And again, I am a strong believer in where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be, with the people with whom we're supposed to be. And so I've known Mary for quite a while, not as intimately as I know her now, now that she's my boss, but it's certainly, we've known each other throughout the years. I mean, the community of basketball is a very small community. And then when you break it down to women, and then when you break it down to women of color, it becomes even, smaller and smaller. So I've known Mary for quite a while, and I've always admired the way she coaches. I've admired, her demeanor and her knowledge of the game. And so obviously we were in the same conference, and I have a great respect for what she's done in her first year. I mean, even prior to here, being at Syracuse and Lemoyne and everywhere she's gone, she's had success. And so I know that, and I want to surround myself with good people and with people who want to win. And she is certainly that. And the people that she surrounded herself with, she's loyal to the people who have been in her life and been in her programs. And so when she approached me with the opportunity, and no one academically, I'm a former teacher as well. I don't know if you know that. But the academic part is extremely important to me. I don't just say it, I live it. My son, Micah, graduated Brown. So I don't just say it, I mean it about the academic piece. And so the opportunity to come here to Binghamton, knowing that it is the #1 SUNY school and academically can compete with anyone, that was very, very important. So when you put all of those things together, the support from the administration, the trajectory of Binghamton athletics, it was a no-brainer. So when she called, I answered, and here we are. And we're going to build something really, really great here at Binghamton.
Yeah, and like you said, the academic side of things means so much to you, and I can respect that and appreciate the student and student athlete, going off of what we were speaking about a few minutes ago with relationships and all the focus on money and moving and no responsibility. And let's get back to remembering that there's a student and student athlete. And with Binghamton being one of the top 10 public Ivy League schools in the nation, and you saying your son Micah having gone to Brown, you know all about the Ivy League and academics and what it takes. On the teaching side of it, how do you utilize that tool and the things that I should say the tools that you learn from being a teacher? Because being a coach and being a teacher, if you do it right, I think are very, connected to each other. And there's this symphony that kind of dances between being a teacher and a coach. So how have you utilized your teaching years and teaching experience into how you coach these young women?
Well, I think everything that we do, some people unlike my colleague Charles Barkley, who's also an Auburn alum, I embrace the idea of being a role model. Somebody has to be a role model, and I say all the time, we are all role models, whether we're an example of what not to be or we're an example of what to be. And so I take that role very seriously, and I think it's a blessing when we're placed in a position to lead, and we have an awesome responsibility for the lives of these young people. So whether it's teaching or coaching, I think is all the same. Whether it's teaching, coaching, parenting, whatever that is, I think it's all the same when we're placed in a role where we're being looked up to, where we have the responsibility of shaping the lives of others, where we're put in a place to lend our skills to other people. I think whether in the game of basketball and coaching, we are teaching them every single day. We're teaching them life skills. We're teaching them the game of basketball. We're teaching them what to do, what not to do. We're teaching them responsibility and respect. Depending on the culture, you're teaching them everything that they need to know, or everything they're gonna know leaving your program. So we want to make sure that what we're teaching them are going to be those things that are going to create a productive and a responsible young adult leaving us and representing us in the greater population. And so I have a great respect for teachers. I've been there, done it. And I have a great respect for coaches who do it the right way. I have a great respect for parents who do it the right way, because the love and the energy and the all that we pour into these young people, it pays off. And when you're able to see them walk across the stage and grab that degree and know that you had some small part in it, that this first generation student athlete has had an opportunity to do something that nobody before her in her family has done. That kind of feeling, I don't care what kind of money you put out there, there's nothing that can compare to that. And so my currency in all of this, whether I'm teaching, coaching, parenting, whatever, is always the currency of seeing them improve and their lives become better. And whether teaching and coaching, I think that you can't get any better than that. You can't put a monetary stamp on that, because it's just something that transcends that. Well, I hope I answered that question.
No, you absolutely did. And took a little shot at Charles. But
I love Charles Barkley, but not role model thing. But yes. So I champion that, and I embrace, and I love the fact that we get to be role models, because I think that is something that is granted to us, and that we should take very, very seriously, and that it is certainly a blessing, and not not this thing that is a burden. It is a blessing, not a burden.
Amen. Yeah. If you're being if you have the blessing to be a role model and God has given you that opportunity, I think that's one of the greatest honors of anyone's life is to have the
Absolutely.
opportunity to impart some type of knowledge, wisdom, and goodness to somebody else that they can pay it forward with. Evelyn, it's time for us to play rapid fire. You get to ask me any
Uh-oh.
question on the planet, whatever you want to ask, whatever topic, whenever you're ready.
Oh, am I asking you?
You're asking me, and then I'll ask you back.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite song?
I love music. I've been singing since I was 3. I've written music. So, my favorite song, I'm going to have to go to, you know what? I'm going to go to one right now. It's called One of These. It's not my favorite song all time, but it's one of my favorite songs right now. One of These by Ella May. And it's because in today's world, you talk about the importance of relationships and not being transactional. As a single man who believes in God in today's world, and my values are very deep to me, I find that it's hard to find people that can appreciate that and respect it and actually honor a good relationship. And Ella May has a song about being a woman and treating a man well that like has these good qualities. So I'm going to give it up to Ella May for reminding me that somebody out there is thinking about it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Listen, Dan. There are plenty of women out there who appreciate a good man who is all about God and goodness. So you just need to look in the right places. So I'll throw that in there.
Fair enough. My question back to you, Evelyn. Let me see here. If you became a superhero for 24 hours, what superhero would you want to be and why?
If I could become a superhero, it would be, well, I'm going to make up this hero because it would be a hero who could wipe out all of the nonsense. Because I think we have a lot of nonsense going on right now. So someone who could spread goodness and faith and love around the world. How about that? I throw on a red cape and maybe I got a heart in the middle of my chest and I just fly over and just sprinkle love all over the world. How's that?
I like that. I like that. I like so maybe we could call you Serenity, something like that.
There you go. There you go.
All right. What's your second question for me?
My second question is, of all the things that you've done in your life, what are you most proud of?
Two things come to mind. I would say starting my company, because I legitimately started my company with 27 cents in my pocket and $103 in my bank account. I was taking care of my grandmother, my G-mama, and living with her so she didn't have to live in a nursing home. And so I would say, the media has been very coarse toward a guy like me. I'm not your typical media person, I guess. And so starting my company and believing in it when the internet wasn't going to work and podcasting was nothing and all these, things that people were believing or saying, I just believed in God and believed in myself and said, I am so sick and tired of working for people that don't believe in God, that don't have morals, that don't have values, that don't keep their word. I have to do this my way. I have to pave, not a way for me, but I have to pave a way for myself and other people. And I need to show other people coming up that there's another way to do it. And God just blessed me with, I always had enough money. I always had support. I always was able to get out of it, whatever came my way, doing something that at the time was very atypical of a broadcaster, to choose to leave traditional radio, to choose to not go to television, and to choose to do something that a lot of people weren't doing 13 or 14 years ago. And then I would say the other thing is getting out of a black hole. I think I was 14 years old, and I remember sitting in my room, kneeling on the ground, praying to God, crying with God, talking with God, saying, I don't know how to get out of this thing. And somehow, some way, one day I put my hand out and I felt the sun on my hand, and I just felt the top of the hole. And I just remember looking back at just looking at God and saying, like, I don't know how the heck you did it, but you always do it. And it was just that feeling of this world can get you down, And full disclosure is I let so many people in the past have loft apartments in my brain rent free. And God has shown me through life, it continues to show me all these years later, that it really is you and him. And that's really the conversation. And there really is nobody else in that conversation but you and him. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So, I mean, I would say getting out of that black hole, because I went to a place and sat in my room and I just thought it was getting darker and darker. And I kept praying. And then he did the impossible, like he always does, and was like, hey, man, I got you. And one day I just climbed out of that hole and thought to myself, I'm never going back there. And I would say that that's, you know, God has shown up in every which way, shape, or form. And people can deny him all they want to, but I can't, because I cannot take credit for the work he's done in my life.
Oh yeah. And it's always, you know, so amen to that. But you know, the thing is, when you said the rent free, my dad used to say all the time, the loudest voice in your head has to be yours, and it has to be positive. And the loudest voice in your heart has to be that of God.
Well, shout out to your dad and the intelligence and the wisdom that he brought, and the role model he definitely is, saying the loudest voice in your head has to be yours, and it has to be positive, and that your heart, that heart that we all keep here and beats in our chest, that we have to make sure we take care of it, and that we put our heart first in everything that we do. So with that being said, Evelyn Thompson, I don't know how to say goodbye, so I always say see you later, and I'll see you soon. So hopefully I will get to see you in person with the rest of the staff sometime soon here. But I'm so happy that we got to do this. We got to showcase who you are to the world and give them some backstory that you told so very well of your journey to Binghamton. And I very much look forward to this being one of the best chapters, if not the best chapter. And I thank you more than anything today, Evelyn, for the peace, the kindness, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the willingness to talk about faith and to talk about family and relationships. So there's a lot that you brought to the table today, and I'm happy that you're bringing it to Binghamton.
Well, I appreciate it. And the best role that I have to give a shout out to my granddaughter, my 2-year-old granddaughter, and she, Adelaide Mia Thompson. She is the absolute best. And of all the roles that I played, that is the absolute best and the biggest blessing that I've ever had. So I have to give a shout out to her.
Well, shout out to your family, and of course to being a mother and a grandmother, and God bless to that and to what you're paying forward in your family. So I know that family comes first, and I definitely hope your family's doing well. So give them my best, and I'll look forward to talking with you very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, Evelyn.
Okay. You as well.
That coming from Evelyn Thompson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And now we have the opportunity to bring on our other addition coming onto the staff at Binghamton University for women's basketball, that being Jason Marshall, who's joining the broadcast here momentarily as we bring Jason on to the show in today's Bearcat Break Room, on the heels of both of these coaches being named to Mary Grimes' staff at Binghamton University for the Bearcats women's basketball program. I have the blessing of being able to share them with you right after they were announced as joining Mary's staff. So Jason Marshall is joining us next here inside of the Bearcat Break Room in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University here inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. And so with that being said, as we get ready to bring Jason into the show here, I'm very happy to have you with us and to have the Binghamton Bearcats with us every single week in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. So with that being said, we are picture in picture here on Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios in this edition of the Bearcat Break Room with Mr. Jason Marshall, in addition to the Binghamton women's basketball staff for the Bearcats as they step forward into the 2025-26 season. So on the heels of the news, I have the blessing of being able to share Jason's story with you. Mr. Marshall, how we doing?
Good morning. Good morning. You're very kind. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. And first and foremost, congratulations on joining the staff.
I appreciate that. It's an exciting time, and I'm happy to be back here.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, to be back at Binghamton, this is not your first stint with the Bearcats. So when we go back and we look at the fact that you have found your way back to Binghamton and back to, familiar digs, of course. What is it like the second time around to be here with Binghamton after being here in the 2013-14 season?
Well, it's still extremely early in the process of getting reacclimated to the area and everybody here. The first, I want to say, week and a half has been great. Just meeting the new people and kind of seeing how things have evolved over the past, well, I want to say 10 years. Time's really fly. So it's just been a great this time just to just getting a real refresher of the area and just kind of seeing where we have evolved to.
And like you said, I mean, it's been some time, right? That's passed over a decade in between. What can you say about the decade that you've had from Binghamton then to Binghamton now? What has this last decade been like for you? And kind of share with us your journey on where you've traveled before coming back here.
Well, it's been a decade of growth. I spent a large portion of that time at Central Connecticut. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of grow there as a coach, and over that time experienced a lot of different jobs and different responsibilities. When I came to Binghamton my first time, it was my first job after having my first opportunity at West Point. So it was the first time being at a quote unquote regular school, not coaching at a service academy. So it was all new for me. So Binghamton kind of really laid that foundation of what it is to work in a quote unquote normal institution, normal environment, as as opposed to working with a service academy, and really set the stage for what my career has developed into. Using that, I've been able to have the opportunity to be a head coach. So it's everything kind of stemmed from my time being here, which has been great to lead me back.
Yeah, and like you said, spending most of your time at Central Connecticut State, working with the Blue Devils and being there, what was that? Because longevity when it comes to coaching, especially in today's world, is kind of unheard of, right? And so to be at Central Connecticut State for 2014 to 2021, what can you say to that period of time and just being able to actually see the growth of a program, see the growth of student athletes, and be with them through that time, which, like I said, in today's world, it's not always easy as a head coach or an assistant to have the time to see a team develop.
Yeah, that time there taught me just a lot about interaction and building relationships with our players, and really locking in and on a vision and building a vision and finding players that invested in that. And also working with a athletic department in a community that's invested in the growth of a program and allowing it to and understanding that things take time, and when you're building a foundation, it takes time to put the right pieces in place, and they gave us that and they supported us with that. So it just just allowed me to see some of the most important things that are needed to build a foundation in the program.
And when you look at those foundational pieces, the pillars of building a program, Jason, what would you say are those that you just feel like through all your stints, through everywhere you've been, the ones that have been always consistent wherever you are, whoever you have as student athletes, whatever's going on, whatever conference it is, that these are the things that you think are really the staples of a program? What do you think those staples are?
First, I think is honesty, honesty and honest communication. Just having a genuine, want and love to see somebody grow. I believe, all the programs that I've seen that have been successful and have sustained over the years are built off of relationships, and that comes from honest communication and also the willingness to grow and evolve. It seems kind of simple and generic, but it's really those two things that I think really just hold the program together, bring it together, and allow it to sustain from years going forward.
And Jason, you spoke about honesty and the building of these relationships. The world we live in today with name, image, and likeness, the focus on how much money can you give me, the focus on individualism, the focus on the transfer portal, right? That there's no limits, that you can leave whenever you want to, however you want to. There's people that have legitimately redshirted themselves, which I didn't think was even a legal thing to do. So when we're living in this world of constant free agency with almost no parameters, with a running away from responsibility, a running away from competition, with a focus on money, on being transactional and not being relationship building, how do you hone in on the things that you just told me, on honesty and the building and sustaining of relationships in a world that's trying to fight that?
Well, I think you got to be true to yourself and understand, who you are, who your program is, and the tone of that, Coach Grimes has set. We recruit based off of, genuine relationships. And I think that no matter what the climate is as far as, NIL and who's getting this money, and even, albeit sometimes, you know, being a little bit more transactional than it has been, it's still based off of relationships, how you, go about recruiting and finding those players and finding the right people for those quote unquote transactions. It's all about relationships and knowing who you are. I think that's a big thing, of knowing who you are, knowing the type of players you want to coach and the type of program you want to build, and being honest about that, not being afraid to tell that, not being afraid to promote that, not being afraid to build in the way that best fits you and best fits your vision for that, for your program. And in some aspects, it may be, building more transactional and looking for those NIL athletes. And in some aspects, it may not be, and you may not be in a situation where you have to do that, where you can do that. So you still have to grow and build everything based off of, your own beliefs, the players that fit you and fit your personality and fit the type of program you want to build.
Yeah, when you look at the development and the building of a program, we talked about Central Connecticut State from 2014 to 2021, and then Ramapo from 2021 to 22, St. Peter's from 22 to 23, and you also mentioned Army, which was 2008 to 2013. But most recently, you got to serve as a head coach in York, New York College. Bring me into that, the fact that for the previous 2 years, you've been out in York, New York, and you've had this chance to build your own program, to take the things that you've learned and to develop. What was it like to do that for you as a head coach? And was it difficult to put yourself in a position to transition out of being a head coach again and come to Binghamton?
Well, to answer the last part, no, it wasn't difficult to transition out from being a head coach to coming to Binghamton, because I just felt like it's the right time. The culture that is here, the culture that Coach Grimes has built in the whole athletic department, where everything is going. I think it's a perfect time to be a Bearcat and a perfect time to join. So that, that kind of transition it felt like this was the right moment for that to happen, to move, my career forward. But to go back to answer your first question, man, it's different. They always say it, and, mentors and friends that I've had that have made the transition from assistant to head coaches, no matter what level it is, you never know. You're never going to be quote unquote ready. You just gotta, just be ready to go in and do it and be ready to roll with the punches. I had an amazing experience these past 2 years where, a lot of our growth didn't show on the in the win column, but it showed, when the little things within our program, individual growth, team growth is, some on the court, some off the court. I'm very proud of the steps that we made in a small time in the past 2 years. It was definitely a challenge, just adjusting from, primarily being Division I coach and dealing with scholarship players, and having to move to, recruiting some non-scholarship players. So, kind of figuring out where my recruiting areas are, and my approach to recruiting, how to adjust and shift based off of, where we were at York and the league we were in. But that's all part of the journey. Those are things that, you take time, and it's trial and error. And I was fortunate to, be with a program that allowed me to do that.
Here with Jason Marshall in this edition of the Bearcat Break Room, welcoming him to the Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball staff for the 2025-26 season and a return from when he was here in 2013-14. Before we get into rapid fire, where you and I can have some fun asking each other questions about any topic in the world, I have to ask you about this gentleman, Eugene Marshall. You familiar with this gentleman?
Yeah, I know him a little bit. I know him.
Okay. What can you say about having the opportunity to be with Mr. Marshall and to obviously continue, like you said, this is a perfect time to be a Bearcat, perfect time to be in Binghamton. Well, Eugene Marshall leads this athletic department, and he is focused on building a championship mentality in the classroom as well as out there in the sports that Binghamton has. There has been championship success, and I've gotten to spend a lot of time speaking with Eugene about the importance of so many things that go beyond sports. Our first meeting face to face in his office was about 45 minutes of faith, God, life, friendship, what's important, morals, values, who we are, why we're that way. And then we talked a little bit about what we were doing in our partnership to work together, because it was more about discovering who we are. So I would love to get the inside scoop on Mr. Gene Marshall from Jason Marshall, because I have had wonderful experiences with him. But what's it like to have the familial connection, and now that you're back in Binghamton?
Well, it's a child's dream, a son's dream, to be, not only have him as my dad, but also a colleague. And over a number of years, we've had a lot of different intersections in our athletic journeys. So it's been great. It's a seamless transition. It was a big motivating factor with having the opportunity to come back here, not just to, selfishly as a son, have an opportunity to spend time with his dad and see him in a role that he flourishes in and he loves, and he's had an amazing journey on, and just seeing the success that he deserves based off the hard work and the relationships and the programs that he's built over the years. But athletically and professionally, it's a great time because I know the direction of the program. He's a builder. He's a connector. He's somebody that does an amazing job of putting people in position to be successful, and wanting to win and not being shy about it. So I think that's an amazing thing to be a part of as a coach. He's a former coach, so he understands the things that we go through. He understands the things we need to be successful, and not just in the basketball world, but in all sports. So it's a great time to have somebody that is experienced in leading and building championship level programs to be leading this one. So kind of all things align. God allowed this to happen, and I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to be together again.
And I'm looking at this right now because I had the opportunity, and it's funny how this happened. I was just leaving Orlando as he was going to Orlando. So I do want to make a note of this, that there's a nice picture of your dad standing next to a picture of himself here. I liked it. So taking a look at the little family picture here and honoring him as, what'd you say?
I said, that's a good one. Doesn't my mom look great? She's amazing, doesn't she?
I will say that I was looking at your mom and I was like, did your dad marry somebody that's like, I don't know, like half? I mean, look at how young your mom. I mean, beautiful.
Yeah, he's a smart man on and off the floor, man. On and off the floor, smart man.
I was gonna say, shout out to your mom. So I mean, and mom on the other side of this, 2024-25 NACDA Athletics Director of the Year. He's being honored in the World Center Marriott, which I know down there in Orlando, Florida. And so mom and dad are down there celebrating it. So just what you could say to that. I mean, there's been different awards that have gone on, and in the amount of time that I've known Gene and over these last couple of years, we have seen different awards come in, and now another one with the NACDA Athletics Director of the Year. Just what you can say to that effect of how your dad goes about his job and the fact that he's being honored, and that there's a national appreciation for the work that he's doing.
I think that's just an effect and a testament to the people he works with, and the coaches that work for him or work with him, and they have bought everybody here. I believe is bought into the vision, and I don't think that happens without the success and the hard work that our coaches put in every day. And we've had a number of America East champions, and student athletes that have qualified for NCAA's over the past year. So without them and without their hard work, that doesn't happen. So, I think that's a testament to the leadership and him putting the right people in the right place, to be successful.
You did the same thing that Dad did. I try to honor him. He talks about everybody else. You did the exact same thing. Jason Marshall here on a wake-up call with Dan Tortora. Hey, listen, you got a bunch of fantastic coaches. So, listen, you can't – they always say it takes a village, and there's something to be said when we're looking at a men's tennis championship, a baseball championship, a softball championship. I mean, we're looking through this wonderful environment that we have at Binghamton University, and it's not one school, it's not one program that's driving the bus. It's a bunch of different programs doing things over time. And even if a program doesn't win a championship, we look at, okay, Lavelle Sanders brought the program to this effect and they got this many wins, which this is a new this. And then, I mean, you look at all the different things that are happening at Binghamton, plus the facilities and the growth, the constant growth and improvement and the caliber of coaches and student athletes that are there. It's easy to give credit where credit is due. And Jason, with that being said, you and I are going to put each other on the hot seat. We can ask each other anything in the world. You get to start. And if you've seen any of my conversations with your dad, you know him and I do this. So you can ask me any question. What do you got for me?
We're just gonna, we'll keep it to the point.
Okay.
Pacers or OKC? Who's winning?
Man, I really want Indiana to do it. I really do. And so, I mean, listen, I have no qualms with OKC, and I actually supported them. My mom was in New York City. She goes, because I'm a Raptor fan, and I got a bunch of Raptor stuff, and she was like, what do you want? And she was at the NBA store in New York City, and I said, the Oklahoma City Thunder, I wanted to get one of their shirts because I wanted to support the worst team in basketball. I said I wanted to show them that they had some love back then. Like, they were the worst team in basketball back when I wore that shirt. And I'm that person, man. I'm that person where, you know what? You can hate me, I'm gonna wear that shirt. You can think that I'm stupid, I'm gonna wear that shirt. I've seen almost every single one of my teams win a championship when I was told I wasn't gonna see any of them win a championship, including Toronto. So, man, if Oklahoma City does it, am I gonna be mad? No. But dang it all, if I wanted Reggie Miller to get one. So, like, to me, this is like the spirit of Reggie, and
You're flopping. Come on now.
So
we're going back and forth. Give me one.
I know. I'm good. So, I mean, I'm leading to it. I got to Seacrest it a little bit, but I mean, my thing is, I'm gonna go with Indiana because I just feel it. I don't know. I feel like they're going to grind it out. I feel like it might be in 6, but I'm going to go with Indiana in the spirit of Reggie Miller. And I got nothing against Spike Lee, but I love when Reggie hit a 3 and then just looked at him. So I gotta go with Indiana.
I hear that. Okay.
All right. My question back to you: put together the best starting 5 in NBA history. Give me your 5.
Ooh. All right. We're gonna go with Steph Curry at the 1. We'll go with Michael at 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go with Kobe at 3. Sounds weird, but I gotta have Michael and Kobe together.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go Shaq at 5, and that 4. That four is different. There's a lot of ways you can go. I think I'm gonna go with a little bit somebody that people won't say. I'm gonna go with Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed Wallace, because he's a little bit of mix of Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett together. So I like that.
Okay. All right. Rasheed Wallace. I've never heard that. So, okay, I can live with. I'm a Damon Stoudemire fan. Rasheed played with Damon for a while.
All right.
So
I
I can,
like the Blazers, early 2000 Blazers. They were a good team.
yeah. Hey, listen, Karl Malone. We all know that you were hitting people in their faces. So, but I mean, there was a
Right.
game because he did it to Brian Grant, and Brian Grant had a Band-Aid. I think it was Game 4 when the Jazz were playing the Blazers. They gave out free Band-Aids to everybody in the crowd, so they all wore Band-Aids over their nose because Carl, we know how you play basketball, man.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
what's your second question for me?
Oh man. Who's your favorite WNBA player right now?
I mean, I feel like if I give this answer, everybody's gonna go, yeah, yeah, okay, whatever, Dan. But I have two. Caitlin Clark is one of them, but I've been on Caitlin Clark for a few years now, and I'm still waiting for my Caitlin Clark auto. I don't have a
Come
Caitlin
on,
Clark
Dan. Come
autograph.
on. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have no because I should
I'm
have
just
bought it
kidding.
when it was $200-300. Now it's $3,000.
Right.
But I do have this one, and she is a fellow Central New Yorker. She actually played basketball with my cousin Sammy.
Oh, nice.
So my other one is Miss Brianna Stewart,
Nice.
and I do
Okay.
have her autograph in the studio. So yeah,
That's great.
I'm gonna say Bree. Shout out on her champion. She just wins championships everywhere. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna say shout out to Bree. 4 years at UConn, 4-time champion, MVP, and then went on #1 pick for Seattle in the WNBA draft and just won a championship with the Liberty. So all she does is win, and I think she's a gold medalist as well with the United States.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Bree, and I'm gonna say Caitlin Clark because I don't know if you know this, Jason, but I also play some ball, and God gave me the ability to shoot that three. So
There we go.
Caitlin Clark is like anybody who can drop it like her and Steph and Reggie and man, like if you can shoot the three and you can shoot it at a high clip, G-Mac, who's a friend of mine, I'm all about that game. So I got to pick Caitlin Clark because that's the woman after my heart right there, and then Brianna
All
Stewart
right.
because Bree is Bree. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with either of those. So, I can't hit on that.
So my question to you, so you got two siblings,
I do.
mom and dad. I want you to give me the family of Marshall Avengers. So we're going to call you Marshall Law. That's going to be your team. That's going to be your group. I want you to
Yeah,
give a
say that.
superpower to each of your siblings and to your parents. Call them out by name. Tell me the superpower. The Marshall Law family of superheroes. What are the powers? And you got to give yourself one too.
I don't know, man. That's interesting.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You're gonna have to. That's interesting. Avengers, X-Men type of thing. So we'll say Dad is kind of like the Professor X. He's got everything. He's got plans. Usually the way he plans things out, it happens that way. He's always thinking ahead, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of people.
Okay.
So we'll give him that ability. We'll give my mom. We'll make her like a Jean Grey type of person. She's very forward thinking as well, and just has a knack for knowing what everybody needs at the right time, even before we may know. So it's a great skill. Let's say my sister. I don't know. She does. My sister's so great. It's kind of we gotta make a mix. She'll have a lot of different powers because she can just do everything. She's just naturally great at everything she does. I will say she's the best shooter in our family. She has no conscience. She can shoot that thing from anywhere. But if we had to give the ball to somebody to save our lives, to make a shot, we give it to her.
Okay.
And my brother, he has this amazing ability to make everybody like him. He's a likable guy. He's a great guy. He's hardworking. He just has the ability to bring everybody together.
Okay.
And for me, I don't know. They like to call me Batman. I kind of just fade in and out when, I show up when you guys need me, and then you turn around and then I'm gone.
All right.
So that's our Marvel DC mix of Avengers. That's us right there.
I like that. That's a good answer. And now I do it. Now I'm gonna picture Gene like.
Oh, hold on,
Gene.
wait. I'm sorry. Wait. And then we also have to shout out the queen, the princess of the group, my niece Bella.
Okay.
My niece Isabella. She is the one that's true mastermind behind the family now.
Okay.
So she's the one.
All right. So we got maybe Brainiac, right? Take a little DC there for Bella. So with that being said, Jason Marshall, new addition to the Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball staff with Mary Grimes and the crew. You could find them in the 2025-26 season in Binghamton here in upstate New York, and of course on the road as well. Jason, I know it's the first time that we got to talk, but I look forward to plenty more and definitely had some fun. Appreciate your questions. And now I'm just picturing Dad with his fingers right here, just coming up. Because you're right. Gene
Gotta ask him about that one. You gotta ask him next time.
He seems to know. I'm gonna say, "What's up, Professor X?" And I hope he shakes his head and goes, "Man, Jason." But I appreciate you as always.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for being a part of the show, Jason.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Coming from Jason Marshall here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, joining the staff of Binghamton University. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We're a little bit over, but that's okay. As we like to go past 11 here on Wake Up Call, we'll take our step aside. We'll come back with the ingredients to success after you hear from our fantastic partners on Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servamation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. You'll find GG Cards and Breaks open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. And there you will find all your sports card and trading card needs. And even more importantly, you get to be a big kid. Whatever your age is, you get to go in there and be a kid and have that kid spirit live on for decades upon decades. You can go there with your parents, your grandparents, your kids, and have yourself an awesome time making memories, opening packs and boxes, finding graded cards, signature cards, one-of-ones potentially. And of course, you get closer to the players and the teams that you love and the games that you love when it comes to Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon. All of that, while supplies last, is there and more, including all the supplies you need to take care of your cards, to protect them, to showcase them, and to travel with them. GG Cards and Breaks has it all. And more than anything, they have that time machine that helps us feel like big kids all the time. Head to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York today. And of course, you'll find them Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, we appreciate you being here with us in our final piece of every Tuesday broadcast, The Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. And Avicolli's bringing you the ingredients to success today. The topic of this broadcast, effort. Effort. Effort is one of those things that you shouldn't have to beg somebody for. That's effort when you're dating. That's effort when you're a friend. That's effort when you're a family member. That's effort in business. That's just plain effort. From your employees, you shouldn't have to beg your employees to have effort. Right? Effort is something that truly shows how involved somebody truly is, how much they care, how much they value you, how much they value what they're doing, what they're working on, where they are. Effort shows everything. So the ingredients to success for effort, well, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to how much effort somebody is putting into their connection to you. Be it business, be it romantic, be it family, be it friendship. Are you the friend that always calls? Are you the friend that always sets everything up? Are you the friend that if you didn't talk to that person, they would never talk to you? Are you that family member that keeps the family together? But if you decided that you didn't want to plan out the Christmas party this year, you're just stressed out, you wouldn't hear from anybody? Are you that person in the romantic relationship that always calls and always texts, says I love you first, says good morning first, does everything, and that when you pause, you don't hear anything? Are you that person in business that always comes to play, always comes with the effort, always comes with the enthusiasm, always comes with the ideas, but the rest of the team just kind of sits there and waits for you to get it done for everybody else? Effort shows interest. And there's something that I put up on my story. You can obviously follow at wakeupcall_DT. Make sure you do that. It says, you know what's attractive? Effort. Effort to get to know you. Effort to text back. Effort to remember the little details. Effort to ask questions. Effort to make plans. You know, when I talk with my mom about the world of dating, I always say to my mom, I say, Ma, you know, I want the girl to text me. I want her to ask me how my day's going. I want her to call me. I want her to ask me about the things that interest me, the things that matter to me. My mom always says to me, well, are you doing that for her? And I say, Mom, I'm saying all this to you with the prerequisite that I'm already doing this with her. And women don't think that I do this, but I very much do this. When I go out on a date, I broadcast, right? I do interviews for a living. I know how to ask questions. I'm not afraid to. So that's not an issue for me to say, what's your favorite color? Tell me about your family. What do you do? Do you like it? Was that the dream? Or do you have another dream? Is there something else you'd like to work on? Where would you like to live? How many kids would you like to have? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song? What are 3 words that best describe you? It is easy for me to ask these questions, but I've been on dates with women where they don't ask you anything. You ask them and they tell you. What's your favorite movie? They tell you. They don't ask you about your movie. I've gotten off the phone before going, this woman didn't care about my movie, my color, my favorite sport. She don't know anything about me, and I just asked her questions over and over and over again. Effort shows the amount of energy, the interest, and the care that somebody puts into something. And that is professionally and that is personally. If they are not putting in the effort, then you need to stop. And I've had to tell myself to do this, and I felt really bad doing it because I was like, oh, is this an eye for an eye? It's not an eye for an eye. It's health. It's health. I don't want to work in business relationships where I'm dealing with a business that I'm like dragging myself over the coals and they can't even return a phone call. Those never end up well. The ones that you chase down and you finally catch them, you're going to have to chase them forever because you've only caught them for this moment. You're going to have to catch them again. When it comes to a romantic relationship, if I'm the last person that texted you, congratulations, the ball's in your court. If I'm the last person that called, congratulations, the ball's in your court. I ain't going to chase you down. And when it comes to friendship, my dad told me one time, one of my friends, he goes, don't call that person and show me what happens. Just let me know what happens. And the person didn't call me, and our friendship ended after 14 years. It ended for a period of time because when I stopped putting the effort in, I realized that they don't do hardly anything. Effort shows everything. So my ingredients to success for you today are look at the relationships that you have, look at the effort that you're putting in, and make sure that the person on the other side is putting in that effort, equaling your effort, putting in the time and energy that you put in. Because if they're not, then it's not worth it. If they're not putting in the time and energy that you put in, it's not worth it. And I'm not saying tit for tat. That's what people say that don't put in the effort, by the way. The people that turn around and throw it in your face when you ask for equality. The people that are offended by asking for equality, asking for equal treatment, asking for equal time, the people that are ridiculing you for wanting equality in your business relationship, in your personal relationships, those people are ridiculing you because you're calling out the fact that they're not putting in effort. And they don't like that. They don't like that. People that are putting in less effort than you do not want you to call them out. They don't want to hear that because you've outed them. You've showed that you know who they are. You've seen through their tricks. And people don't like that. Somebody who's doing good in the world, somebody who's giving to you and cares about you and wants to see you happy and wants to see you do well and cares about you both succeeding in the business partnership, in the family relationship, in the friendship, in the romantic relationship. Somebody who wants to see you succeed is not going to freak out on you when you ask for equality. They're also not a person that's going to make you have to ask for equality. The fact that you have to ask your partner, your friend, your business, whatever, the fact that you have to ask them to put some more work in, the fact that you have to ask them to care a little bit more, you should never have to ask somebody to care. You should never have to ask somebody to call. You should never have to ask somebody for time. You should never have to ask somebody to put the work in. You should not have to ask for people to show up, be it on the phone, be it on a text message, or in person. You should not have to ask for people to show up. I used to chase. I don't chase no more. If you don't want to be my friend, door's right there. I'm not going to give you a reason to leave, but if you want to go, door's right there. You don't want to date me? All right. The door's right there. We got blood that runs through our veins that's similar. We got chromosomes that match up. We are family, but you don't want to be family? The door's right there. Because anybody that's willing to walk out on you is going to out on you at some point, whether or not you tell them it's okay to. So get ahead of it. You want to go? Go. The door is right there. I had one girl that I dated, and she would threaten to break up with me all the time. And she'd use that as a carrot, right? So she would threaten to break up with me, and then I would do anything to stay with her, even though the relationship wasn't that healthy. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm done hearing threats. And I just said, you know what? I'm out. And I walked out. I said, you keep threatening that you're going to leave. I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to make it easy for the both of us. You keep saying you're going to go. You've been saying it for a long time. So, I'll just go. What do you mean, Dan? What do you mean? She chased me for 1 year because she never really wanted to leave. She was just using what she thought would be the thing that would control me to stay. So, folks, I'm telling you right now, it is the cold, hard truth of life, but it is the truth. People do what they want to do. They call who they want to call. They text who they want to text. They see who they want to see. They make effort. I'm folding clothes, Dan. Okay, we all fold clothes. I'm on the plane, Dan. Well, you could text on planes now. I figured out how to do it. So, I'm too busy. Man, I could use that excuse. There's days where I'll work for 16 hours. There's days where I wake up at 9 and I go to sleep at 3 in the a.m. There's days I wake up at 6 and go to bed at 1. There's days where I have not slept. There was a bunch of days down in Florida where I went to bed at 3 and woke up at 8 or 7:30. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I went to bed at 3 and I woke up at 6. And then the other day I went to bed at 3 and I woke up at 7:30. Or no, I woke up at 6 the same day. I slept 3 hours both days because I had to, no. Yeah, I had to leave. I left at 7:30. Yeah, okay. Makes sense now. So just recently, a few days ago, back-to-back days, went to bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, woke up at 6. So when you tell me you're busy, I don't want to hear it. You tell me you're tired, I don't want to hear it. You tell me you're doing normal human chores, I don't want to hear it. Everybody's got to go potty, right? Everybody's got to fold clothes. Everybody's got to do the dishes. Everybody's got to eat food. Most of us got a job, right? So I don't want to hear you were too busy. And honey, if you're too busy for me now, I'm not going to have any time for you when you're free. That's for real, for real. And I still feel guilty about it in a way, but like my step back game, you can't feel bad for a step back, right? I'm a shooter. That step back 3, bang. I love that shot. That step back, fade away, let it go. That's how I won the last game of horse I played. Took that fade away from the right wing. I'm going to tell you something that I don't like to hear. Effort shows everything. Effort shows everything. And when you say, well, maybe I'm asking for too much, are you giving it? Because if you show up for work every day early and the other 5 employees don't, well, then it's not impossible to show up early, is it? If one person can do it, then we can all figure out how to do it, right? Well, Dan, you don't have kids. I say back to you, you don't own a business. Well, Dan, I own a business and I have kids. Okay. Well, I'll say to you, we do different things. You go to bed at 10, I go to bed at 2. We go back and forth, tit for tat. You can't say to me because I don't have kids, I'm not busy. And I can't say to you because you own a business, you're not busy. I know people work 3 days a week, got the other 4 off. They too busy to make phone calls. They got 4 days off, they too busy. Let me tell you something. When you got that open opportunity and you remember how nice it was to talk to me last week, don't you dare call me when you got a day off, because I ain't going to answer. So, but I used to feel bad about that. And you know what? I still kind of do. But when you become an option in somebody's life, take the option away. Man, I got 5 friends. I'm going to call them all up and see which one's got the best idea and who can give me the most free stuff. So I'm going to call each one of my 5 friends, da-da-da. I had a friend like this. He'd call you what you got. Call his friend what you got. That's how it felt. I don't know if he actually did that, but that's how it felt. Well, you want to hang out at the house. Well, he's going to give me free tickets to the Syracuse basketball game. I'm going to go with him. Right? There's girls and guys that are out there going, man, I got 10 people in my DMs. I'm going to talk to all 9, and then right before I go to bed, I'm going to say, what's up, Dan? And guess what you're going to get from me? Nothing. I'm going to go to bed. And I had to learn that really recently, that when a person finally got to me after talking to all their other options, I looked at my phone when I got that message that I wanted to get hours before, and I went to bed. And I felt guilty. I was like, man, am I doing an eye for an eye? Because they were treating me like an option, so now I'm a step back. And I was like, no, you're not doing an eye for an eye. You're telling that person, if I'm an option, I'm going to bed. I messaged you 3 hours ago. You're going to message me at almost 11 o'clock at night? When I know you out there doing your thing, let me tell you something. Have a good night. And I'll text you when I feel like it. See, but I feel bad because I feel like that's an eye for an eye. They made me wait, so now I'm making them wait. But I said, no, it's not an eye for an eye. They made me an option, and I refused to be at their every beck and call. There was one girl I dated, and she put in no effort at a certain point. And anytime she put in effort, she thought I would jump on it because I did. And she's like, all I got to do is call that man and he will drop everything. And then came the day where I didn't care anymore. Not that I don't care about her health, safety, and happiness. I didn't care about the relationship anymore. And she called and she called and she called and she called because the carrot that she always dangled was, he wants me to call. And when she did the last time, I let that thing ring. 30 some odd times she called. I let that phone ring. Because some people realize, some people want to talk when it's too late. Some people want to change you. Some people think that they have access. This is what I'm going to say to you. And I can't take credit for this because I got it from somewhere else, but I believe in it. If somebody has VIP access to you, and they step out your life and go do their thing and then come back when they feel like it, don't you dare allow them VIP access again. I won't even let them have standing room only access in my life. You want to come for, you want to be backstage and you want to dip out and then come backstage again? I ain't even going to let you stand in the back. I don't care if the concert seats 10,000 and there's 100 people there. We full. I don't have room for you in this room no more. And see, I feel bad when I do that because I'm a child of God. We all are, but I serve God. So I'm thinking, okay, well, God wants me to say, open that door, open. No. Because when I've stayed in abusive relationships that didn't put in the effort, where I had to do most of the work and I got hurt most of the time, God was working against me, trying to get me out of the relationship. And I was trying to fight with him to stay in. So the whole like, well, Dan, it's an eye for an eye. Well, Dan, it's wrong to do that. It's wrong to give somebody what they're giving you. No, to me, it is wrong to keep chasing, giving, and just killing yourself over somebody that really could care less if they talk to you. And that's business, that's family, that's friend, that's romance. If they don't care, it doesn't change your heart. But change the way you move with that person. You don't have to change your loving heart. You don't have to change your goodness. When you get to me at the end of the day, when I know you've been potentially talking all this, and this, and you get to me and Dan, I talked to the other 3 guys. Now it's your turn. Girl, keep that turn. About to turn around and go to sleep. I felt bad when I did it. But it was the first time that I told a woman, if I'm an option, good luck with the other ones, because I'm going to take myself right off of the table. If there's options A, B, C, and D, now you have A through C. Good luck, because D out the door. Do not stick around for somebody who does not care about your presence. Keep your good heart. And also keep your sound and peaceful mind. You don't have a bad heart when you walk away from people. We got to start acting like sanity and peace are just as important as having a good heart. YouTube.com/wakeupcalldt, Facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You're watching and listening to Wake Up Call worldwide, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. These were the ingredients to success with today's topic of effort, proudly presented by Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. I want to thank my guests, Dave Paziak, Evelyn Thompson, and Jason Marshall. I want to thank Avicolli's for the ingredients to success. I want to thank you for watching and listening and finding us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, as well as Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big time thanks to the Brooklyn Pickle. Find them down in North Carolina after having them for so long in New York. 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. We do a segment presented by Brooklyn Pickle called In a New York Minute, with a minute's worth of inspirational wisdom and knowledge I've gained over the years to share with you. Check that out on our social media, and check out Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines today. Many thanks to our incredible team of partners in Central and Upstate New York. The family is strong. Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Servomation, Avicolli's, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, and we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins Wednesdays during Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You will find them all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist. The Dolphins are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. Men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, and the return of baseball. All on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. See our archive by clicking subscribe, hitting the notification bell, and going to the BSC Syracuse playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information on the Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, like today, during Bearcat Time. You will find your Bearcats with us, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining us throughout the year. You can find all our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. As always, many thanks to you. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Shout out to Dave Paziak, Evelyn Thompson, Jason Marshall of Binghamton, and of course the ingredients to success presented by Avicolli's. Dave talking about the NBA and coming to us from Vermont State University, Linden. Many thanks to all of you for watching and listening up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Have a beautiful day. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.